States of America prepares to elect its new president today. A very good morning and welcome. This is the Breakfast Rundown and I'm your host, Theruni Karunaratne. We have several key international stories and multiple local stories as well, so do stay tuned with us right throughout. Well, let's get the ball rolling with our top story this morning. It is an international story. Today is the presidential election of the United States of America. Now, the country is preparing to elect its 47th president. And of course, this is an election that has captured a worldwide attention. The 2024 United States presidential election, or the 60th quadrennial election, will be held today. That is the 5th of November 2024. Allow me to explain how this election works. Now, voters in each state and the District of Florida will choose electors to the Electoral College, which will then select the next president and the vice president for the United States of America for a term of 4 years. Well, this year we have two main nominees. We have Republican candidate Donald Trump and we also have Democratic candidate Kamala Harris. Now, Donald Trump's home state is Florida. His running mate is J.D. Vance. And Kamala Harris's home state is California. Her running mate is Tim Walz. The run-up to this election has managed to capture attention of the entire world. I'll tell you why. The incumbent president, Joe Biden of the Democratic Party, was initially supposed to contest the U.S. presidential election. Now, however, his performance at the presidential debates with Republican opponent Donald Trump raised concerns, intensified the concerns about his health and about his age, and led to calls from within his party itself for him to withdraw from the presidential race. Although he was initially adamant on remaining in the race, later on Biden withdrew on the 21st of July 2024, becoming the first eligible incumbent president to withdraw from the race since Lyndon B. Johnson in 1968. Now, he endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris, who took over the position of presidential candidate on behalf of the Democratic Party, and she was named the party nominee on the 5th of August 2024. Well, that's a bit of context on the US presidential election for you. Now, leading campaign issues this year are abortion, which was widely discussed not just in the United States, but it became a widely discussed issue around the world. Also, climate change, democracy, the economy, education, foreign policy, healthcare, immigration, and LGBTQ rights. Well, the winners are scheduled to be inaugurated on the 20th of January 2025 as the 47th president and the 50th vice president of the United States of America, respectively. Well, let's move on to more local news now. The Department of Post says that 70% of official polling cards for the 2024 general election have already been distributed. Senior Deputy Postmaster General Rajitha Ranasinghe says that the distribution of official polling cards will be carried out until the day after tomorrow. That is the 7th of November 2024. According to him, if you still have not received your polling cards by the 7th of November, you may obtain them from the nearest post office after confirming your identity. Now, in a major development that was reported yesterday with regards to the 2024 general election, the Supreme Court today dismissed a fundamental rights petition requesting a delay in the general election without taking it up for consideration. The petition aimed to annul the Gazette notification announcing the the general election, citing procedural violations in the Parliamentary Elections Act related to the calling of nominations and the announcement of the election date. Well, so far the 2024 general elections campaign activities are quite peaceful, according to election observers. Executive Director of PAFRO, Rohana Hettiarachchi, says that so far no major election law violations have been reported. Also, the Executive Director of the Institute for Democratic Reforms and Electoral Studies, Manjula Gajanayaka, says that only 150 minor complaints have been received, and overall the election campaigning activities are quite peaceful. Let's move on to some news regarding the GCE Ordinary Level Examination. The calling for applications for the 2024 GCE Ordinary Level Examination begins today. The Department of Examination says that only applications sent online will be accepted. from now on. School applicants may apply through their school's principal, and private candidates may apply personally following the instructions that have been provided by the department. Now, private candidates of the GCE ordinary level examination are supposed to use their national identity cards during the application process. However, if they do not have their national identification cards, they may use their guardians' NICs during the registration process and then submit their applications. The Department of Examinations adds that the deadline for submitting applications for the GCE ordinary level examination is midnight on the 30th of November, and that this deadline will not be extended for any reason. Well, if you have any inquiries to make, the department has also provided us with 3 telephone numbers. You can call those numbers and ask any question that you have in this regard. Those telephone numbers are 011 278 4208. The second telephone number is 011 278 4537, and the third telephone number that has been provided is 011 278 5922. Now, let's move on to another local story. A new surgical ward was inaugurated at the Batiklo Teaching Hospital with a financial assistance of 320 million rupees from the Indian government. Now, this event was attended by Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, His Excellency Santosh Jha. Let's take a look at what the High Commissioner had to say addressing the event.
Our relations with Sri Lanka are very special. Our relations is one of what I often say between civilizational twins. So I'm really glad that some fruits of this cooperation today is visible in a very concrete way that assists the vast population in this area in the eastern province. We have connectivity as the central theme of this, and the focus is on enhancing connectivity in all its dimensions, whether it is air, maritime connectivity, digital, energy, or people-to-people connectivity, which I think is the pulse of the relationship. The need for new surgical ward arose at the hospital due to the escalating number of patients admitted to the wards and the growing number of surgeries required as a result. I am told that at the time that the proposal came to us, approximately 1,280 patients were on waiting lists for surgeries. And due to the hospital's limited facilities, patients had to face excessive wait times. The Government of India readily agreed to extend assistance. An MOU was signed with the Ministry of Health in 2016, and subsequently we had to increase the budget from 275 million initially allocated to 302 million. That was also done to enable the construction to begin. Though the COVID-19 pandemic and economic difficulties in the country posed some challenges over the course of the project, the original work, the scope of the work now stands fully completed.
We'll on to your weather update this morning now. Showers or thunder showers will occur in the most parts of the island during the evening or night. Showers will occur at several places over the coastal areas of the western and southern provinces and in the Ampara district during the morning hours. The Met Department says that heavy showers of about 100 millimeters are likely at some places in the central, Sabaragamuwa, north central, Uba provinces and in the Kurunegala district. And as always, the general public is requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. Meanwhile, the landslide warnings issued for several divisional secretariat divisions across 8 districts are still in effect. The National Building Research Organization says that the landslide warnings have been issued for divisional secretariat divisions of the Badulla, Gaul, Kalutara, Kandy, Kegol, Kurunegala, Mathura and Ratnapura districts. These are stage 1 and 2 landslide warnings. Allow me to shift your attention to news overseas. Israeli forces have attacked the Kamal Adwan hospital in North Gaza for a second day. wounding medical staff and patients, including newborn babies at the facility's nursery. Israel's military attacked the Syrian capital Damascus, claiming it targeted Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters in the country. But Syrian media say civilian areas were struck. Now, meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said there was no alternative for the UNRWA after Israel officially notified the global body of its decision to cut ties with the Agency for Palestinian Refugees. So far, 43,374 Palestinians are reported to have been killed and 102,261 wounded since the 7th of October 2023. An estimated 1,139 people were killed in Israel during the Hamas-led attacks that day, and more than 200 were taken captive. And in Lebanon, at least 3,002 people have been killed and 13,492 wounded in Israeli attacks since the war on Gaza began. On to more news from overseas. Pakistan yesterday blamed winds from India for worsening smog, urging the Indian authorities to take up the matter seriously after the air quality index in the capital city of Pakistan's Punjab province hit a record high over the weekend. Now, toxic grey smog has sickened tens of thousands of people, mainly children and elderly people, since last month when the air quality started worsening in Lahore, the city bordering India. The Punjab Environment Protection Department said that the concentration of PM2.5 or tiny particulate matter in the air approached 450, and that situation is considered hazardous. Punjab Information Minister Azma Bukhari said told the media that the wind direction brings air from India into Pakistan, yet India does not seem to be taking this matter seriously as it should. Now, she urged the Indian side of Punjab state to take this matter seriously. Meanwhile, the Punjab government has closed primary schools in Lahore for a week in the wake of the rising smog. The government has already closed schools for specially abled children for 3 months. Lahore was once known as the city of gardens, which were quite important during the Mughal era from the 16th to the 19th centuries. However, rapid urbanization and surging population growth have left little room for greenery, which is quite unfortunate. Well, that brings to a close today's edition of the Breakfast Rundown. I'm Theruni Karunaratne. I'll see you tomorrow at 7 a.m. same time on TV1. Until then, take care. Have a wonderful day ahead.